What fascinates me on this planet is the diverse, many different races we have here. Is it because of environment and locale, or are these all? I've always thought about this.
The more we look at the different race groups on planet Earth, we call ourselves the human race, but we're not one race. We're distinctly several different race groups. And that becomes very interesting and often a very sensitive subject, but something that needs to be discussed openly without, racial prejudice and so forth. So it becomes more and more compelling. The evidence becomes overwhelming that we did not really evolve to this point in time. We somehow were manipulated into this point in time.
For a specific reason, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Some evolutionists, Michael, would say, George, don't use the word popped up. We evolved, yet it's pretty convincing that we kind of just showed up all of a sudden, isn't it?
This cradle of humankind that is being sold to the world doesn't have any human skeletons in it. We have hominids in there, Australopithecus africanus and Mrs. Pless and Littlefoot, and wonderful examples of over 500 fossils that have been excavated from the Sterkfontein caves, just sort of northwest of Johannesburg. Over 500 fossils, if I've got it right. But they're all hominids, no human skeletons there. So these are all the supposedly pre-human evolutionary states. They are not human. This has become a very hot political debate in South Africa because some people believe that you've become a racist and you're drawing racial lines here. It's got nothing to do with that. You've got to call it what it is. You've got to call it as you find it. You can't start becoming politically sensitive to one group or another.
No, this is anthropology. Are these all various sex races from other extraterrestrials that have been here and, they've manipulated in their own image? So the Asian person, the Caucasian, the African, they are in the image of the extraterrestrial that came to this planet a long time ago. Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, you obviously give this stuff a great deal of thought, and I think you put your finger right on the button one more time. Again, I look at this scientifically, genetically, and ecologically. If we only appeared as a species 250,000 years ago, not enough time has passed for these different race groups to have evolved. And I don't care what anybody throws at you; it's just not going to happen because the strength of the genetic pool that keeps the Asian person Asian is so strong that it defies any kind of argument or scientific or a genetic evolution into that. It just doesn't make any sense. And the same goes with African people. The strength of the gene pool of African defies the movement away from that into somebody like me who's got a little pale skin and gets burnt when I run into the sun. You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, and there's not enough time that has passed on Earth for us to have evolved so dramatically into these 3 or 4 distinctly different race groups. And that's why when I said earlier we call ourselves the human race, well, we're not really the human race because we are not one race group. We are 3 or 4, possibly more, distinctly different race groups. But the obvious ones are the Caucasians, the Asians, the Chinese. I suppose when I say Asian, I mean the Chinese type look, and then the Black African, and that is fascinating stuff because it becomes a melting pot of debate. That what is interesting is earlier this year, I think it was in February, Craig Venter, the sort of so-called father of the Human Genome Project, gave a speech which blew everyone's mind, and it certainly blew my mind because he mentioned some startling facts. Until very recently, we were all sold the story that all humans are 99.9% genetically the same,
Right.
identical. Well, that is no longer the case. Okay, with the Human Genome Project studies, they found out that between people and especially different race groups, there is up to a 2 or a 3% difference in their genetic structure.
And that's a big difference, isn't it?
It's a huge difference.
It's almost, Michael, as if they all came from different places in the universe.
That's certainly what it seems like. It seems like there might have been a prototype kind of person built here, and then another group by one group of extraterrestrial settlers for a specific purpose. The cloning of the humans by the Annunaki, many of your listeners will be very familiar with that. That seems to be a specific point in time, and possibly some of the earliest human manipulation or manipulation of this new species called Homo sapien.
We talk about just how we evolved on this planet. You know, we're talking about the work of Zecharia Sitchin and his theories of the 12th planet. Robert Saffier does a very thorough job trying to coordinate all the various people who are talking about this. And it's growing, I think. It's growing, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.